Movies, gaming, Winnipeg, and wrestling. What do they all have in common? Well, my guest today will talk about that. This is episode number 39 of the Steven Sersky podcast. I'm Steven Sersky. Thanks for joining me. And today, Joel JP Passante joins me on the show to talk about all these different topics. He's been involved in movie and theater productions for a long time. He now live streams his games, his retro gaming, on through Twitch. He still lives in Winnipeg, Canada, and he has a lifelong love affair, a lifelong interest, passion in pro wrestling. So these are all some of the things that we talk about, along with what it's like to be a podcaster and a creative in this day and age of the massive amount of social media available. Joel has been active for quite some time. We've known each other for quite some time as well. We used to work together on some productions, particularly in the Winnipeg Fringe Festival many years ago. It's actually, I think that's how we met. It was through one of those productions. All right, so let's get into it. This episode was recorded on Saturday, May 27th, 2023. This is episode number 39 with Joel Passante.
Long time no see.
All right, there we go. I can hear you now.
Good. You're drinking your morning coffee, and I'm drinking my morning water.
Well, it's late evening for you, man. What is it? 8 o'clock?
8:34 p.m. right now. So, yeah, good. All right. How's the headphones? Everything, all the sounds are okay and everything?
Yeah. My little board looks good.
All right. Now, I always screw this up. So, I'm going to ask you one question here about Zoom. Which setting is best for capturing both speakers all the time? Is it gallery, speaker, or immersive?
I don't use Zoom very often, so yeah, like I use it at work, but I'm just the guy sitting there being like, here's my slides. Like that's all I use.
At least you have slides. All right. Well, I'm gonna leave it on gallery.
Yeah, like because it sounds good to me, but just my experience from like doing like anything like this isn't what goes out there. So
yeah, well, but you have a good microphone going in, don't you? Right.
Oh yeah. I got a pretty.
I'm thinking actually more thinking in terms of the audio, the video quality, which way it's sort of, because I've had it before where all of a sudden I've switched midway through and then it just looks odd when I do that. So that's
nice.
Yeah. My setup is a little bit kind of rugged, I guess you could say. It's cheap. It's functional, but it is definitely definitely cheap.
Yeah, for me, it's about function. Like if it's a podcast, I don't care what it looks like. I'm listening to it. So, but then I said like for streaming, I try to make it look a little remotely better. So.
Well, the idea was always to publish videos as well with this, and I just haven't got around to it because of all the. Video just requires so much more energy and time, effort. Yeah. However, the technology has changed quite a bit. That I guess you would say it's a lot easier to. My issue is that when I record these big podcasts, like they take 2-3 hours, sometimes 4 hours, and it's just one of these things where I'm like, although I remember what we say, I don't remember when it was said, and as a result, I don't really want to listen to myself again to find the good clips and stuff like that. I remember some funny things that happened throughout, but it's not something I can really call to mind, and it's very distracting to be making notes at the same time. I just try to avoid doing that. Just trying to get my camera sort of centered. And my other big thing actually is I don't know if you do this with your podcast, but if you're ever making a thumbnail for it, you want to have like a hand gesture of some sort. Have you noticed that a lot of the thumbnails are like
Yeah, pointing or the all that crap.
Something along.
Luckily, the guy, like the other guy that's doing it with us, he actually works for Screen Rant as like a side gig. So he's that's his job. He'll be the marketing, thumbnail, all that stuff, and I'm more of just I'm just here to come up with the dumb ideas and talk about the random crap. Where he's more of the behind the scenes,
the content creation, right? Yeah. That's good. That's it's a nice little job to have, I guess. Screen Rant. I have heard of
released any episodes.
Okay, I have heard of Screen Rant. but not in a while. It's been years since I would have heard that name.
Yeah, like because he lives here in the city, like he lives here in Winnipeg because it's strictly online screen rant. So he does more kind of like comic book related stuff, or a lot of his videos and contributions. And like he never shows himself, like it's an animated head of him, and then it's just his voiceover. So
oh, I see. Okay. One of those guys. All right. So headphones are okay. Microphone's okay. Mine's coming through loud and clear. I think the video is okay. The only I don't know if you've ever heard of the app called Camo, Camo. So I can use my cell phone as a webcam, and so I have it plugged in.
Okay.
So I'm not using my computer camera, which is right there. The camera's up there.
Okay.
And so I'm looking at you over here, but I've got the camera up there, which is what my job requires me to do all the time too. The person's down here, but I'm looking up there all the time, but whatever. All right. Well, if you're ready to go, then
I apologize if you can hear running. That's just the Spawn doing his morning. I don't care about anything. So
the Spawn. Oh, that's so sweet of you.
yeah. It's his name. Well, even because like my whole like internet character, like it's like Rat's House of Retro. So like the wife, she goes by like Mrs. Rats, and he goes as Rat Spawn, because we just kind of in just this day and age, you don't like to like reveal your significant other's names and stuff like that. That just kind of the world is creepy, and I don't like it. So
it's true. I noticed actually with your podcast, your streams, your Twitch stream. I was actually watching this morning, last night. I was one of the lurkers that you mentioned at the end there. You go by JP. Can I say your full name or not?
Oh yeah, by all means, yeah. Like JP is actually just because it's my initials. Obviously, it's been my nickname since I was a kid. So simple, done.
Right. So this would be episode 39 with you, of course, Joel Passante. Joel Passante. How am I saying it?
Passante. You had it right the first
time. Good. I was practicing it all week. I was like, I got to get this right, because I don't think I've ever actually said your last name.
A lot of people really put the T. Yeah, everyone always forgets the T because they just see the Passante. I'm like, well, no. Well, there's no accent. Italians don't put accents. We accentuate with our hands, but we don't put
unless you are so modernized that you have dropped the accentuation of that letter, and then you become so North Americanized that you are now just Joel Passante, but you're not Joel Passante.
Yeah, Passante.
Joel JP Passante joins me. There you go. Good.
There we go.
So it's been a while since we've seen each other. Probably we're going on 12 years, 14, 15 years. I mean, I haven't been back in Winnipeg
minimum
for a few years, but I haven't seen you in person for a very long time. So thank you for taking the time to your early morning. Your child is running around.
I'm up this early anyway, so now up at 6 a.m. every day, sometimes 5 if he doesn't want to sleep.
Wow. So how is it being a father? Because I don't have kids. I mean, I live in a studio apartment, and I'm the one getting up early, like at 6:30.
It's weird. Like I never thought I would actually have kids. Growing up, I wanted to have kids. Kind of makes sense. But then, like when it actually happens, you're like, oh, cool. like he was planned. It wasn't like, oh no, what happened? No, like you were like, yeah, let's have kids. Okay. But it's really she didn't want to have kids for like ever. She's like, I don't want kids. Kids are dumb. I hate kids. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it is what it is. And then just one day she's like, I want kids. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Do we have room? Like.
It wasn't one of the things I'm pregnant, and then you're like, okay, I guess we're okay with kids now.
Yeah,
is that not how it normally happens with girlfriends who become wise? People. I don't know. I haven't been in Canada a long time.
It's so different. So many, and like some people I know is like let's just talk about other people. No, it's it's interesting. No, I said, well, he's 9 now. So,
wow,
what is time?
9 years old. Okay, I thought he was.
You're like holding him like a football.
Oh, okay.
Far from it.
And the reason, the reason I say that is because I was watching one of your YouTube videos, your last YouTube video actually, wherein you say when you had a kid,
3 years.
It was back in 2019, and you said, well, when we had a kid, I had to focus on something, and so I just assumed that that was your transition point, was from end of YouTube, start a family. But it sounds like you started a family many years before you before YouTube and before you ended the YouTube, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so essentially I started the YouTube in like 2015, I believe, 2015, 2016, I'm not sure. Yeah, because yeah, well, as you know me before from like the whole theater community, which is where we met. Yeah, Winnipeg theater.
A long time ago.
Yeah, I did it religiously. Like I did the Fringe every year. I produced my own shows every year. I edited people's shows. Not really a director. I don't like telling people what to do, but I like being like the one kind of behind the scenes being like, all right, that works. Like, like I love producing. Producing is fun. The key to being a good producer is spending as little money as possible, but still making the greatest product possible. And I'm very good at that because I know how to negotiate. So yeah, we were doing shows. And after I got married, I kind of toned down a little bit. So I was in 2010. So I kind of stopped doing Fringe, but I still did behind the scenes things. So like, like independent shows every now and then. And then I signed up to do Evil Dead, the musical in Winnipeg during its first run in 2013, which was awesome. Like we loved ever. So yeah, we started kind of producing it, getting it all done at the end of 2013. And while that was going on, we found out, hey, we're pregnant. Okay, well, I guess this is going to be my last show for a while because to raise a family and to do theater, it's just a physical impossibility.
Really?
So that was kind of my swan.
Is it really? I don't know, to tell you the truth. I mean,
it's a lot, especially for like my role as being like the main guy behind the scenes. Okay, because even from doing shows like rehearsal. Like you have your 9 to 5 job, and then you rehearse, and then you go home, and repeat. So it's like, so yeah, I decided that would kind of be it for a little while. And then I kind of made the decision, like, like once he's old enough, I'll get back into the theater scene. So that could be any day now. Who knows? Because he's almost 10. So I decided that would be my last show. And then like half a year passed. So we're like now like late 2014, early 2015. And I'm just like, I am bored. I am bored as
having
hell.
A kid doesn't excite you enough?
It did, but I still needed to be creative. So I decided, hey, you know what? A lot of people out there making YouTube videos. I guess I'll make some YouTube videos. Like I know I have a film background. I know a little bit about that stuff. So I decided, okay, what do I know about wrestling? Okay, let's do a wrestling YouTube. So I started Kayfabe Chronicles, and I did that for about 3 years, and I was miserable.
Really?
Absolutely freaking miserable. The internet wrestling community, and you can keep this in this podcast, I don't care, are the worst humans known to man. They are horrible. Absolutely horrible.
What makes them so bad?
Admit, I met a lot of great, like I met a lot of phenomenal like a lot of phenomenal podcasters, YouTube. I still talk to a lot of them because I still assist with some of their productions. Like, like I'll still give them like tidbits and stuff to work with. I do a lot of voiceover work for a lot of them.
Really?
Cool.
Okay, cool.
But just horrible. Like, okay, here's because like I don't know if you're familiar with wrestling a little bit.
Grew up on it and grew up
there's different
being told not to watch it.
Groups. Yeah, exactly. There's different brands, there's different companies. But guess what? You're not allowed to like more than one of them, because if you do, you are
That's
horrible.
The old school mentality, isn't it? That's ECW versus WWF.
It still exists. It still exists. Like there's so many fickle fans out there where, like me, I like all of it. Like put wrestling in front of me, I'll watch it. I don't care. Like it could be like two robots. I don't give a shit. It's gonna be awesome. But you're not allowed to. Like, you can't like WWE, WWF, and AEW, or New Japan, or Ring of Honor, or Imp. You can't. You're not allowed to like that. And if you don't agree with another fan, oh well, I'm right, you're wrong. But like, it's just wrestling. Like, who cares? Like what you like. Like I'll admit, like there's some wrestlers out there I don't like. Whatever. If you cheer for them, I don't care. Whatever. You do you.
You've mentioned a lot of wrestling federations I've never heard of, which was actually a surprise when I found out that there was more than just the WWF and ECW back in the day. This is like early 90s, late 80s. But and what I didn't realize is that Vince McMahon played a huge role in this sort of development of mainstream pro wrestling, right? And one of the things he did is he united a lot of the stateside regional wrestling federations, I guess, and put it into one, or wrestling associations. But I didn't realize like Japan is huge. Europe has its own circuit, everything. I mean,
there's the English league. Oh yeah, it's phenomenal.
Do you follow a lot of, can you call them niche? Are they small? How would you classify them? I mean, being that probably most people are familiar with the WWE as it is now, maybe not even the ECW, because that goes back a while.
ECW is like early 90s to late 90s. Yeah. Philadelphia based. Well, it used to be Eastern Championship Wrestling, and then it became Extreme Championship Wrestling. And now, actually, currently, the thing that would be closest to ECW would be, I think it's GCW, I believe is what they're called. Like they're like the flat out, like, you know, barbed wire explosions, plain glass windows, and like me, I'm not a fan of deathmatch wrestling, which is what it's called. Like I enjoy blood, it's fun, but it doesn't cater to me. But I'm not going to crap on you because you like it. Like I have a lot of friends who love it. I'm like, hey, cool, whatever, you know. But other people are like, no, you can't watch that. That's too violent. No, I don't care. But yeah, it's funny that you echoed on Vince McMahon, because yeah, he essentially kind of was the first guy. Because like back then, the different territories, those were the different leagues. Because you had like Georgia Championship Wrestling, you had Mid South, you had Smoky Mountain, you had the Northeast, which is where that was Vince's. That was Vince Senior's league. You had the NWA. I still laugh whenever I say NWA because I just think of the rap.
So do I. But that was the New Wrestling Association, or what was it?
I think it's like Northwest.
Okay, yeah.
I don't. For me, with a guy with tons of wrestling knowledge, I actually don't know what it. People out there, if you know what it means, please let me know. My DMs
was NWA just an association, or was it? I remember it being a tag team group, wasn't it? Or who was that?
Well, it was an entire association, because that's kind of where like Dusty Rhodes, that was kind of his that was his area, was the NWA. And the NWA title is still around today. It is a beautiful belt. Like that is one of the most gorgeous belts in all of wrestling. But then he started poaching, essentially, which was back then you weren't allowed to poach. Like, you know, you had your wrestlers, they had their contracts. They could kind of wrestle from territory to territory as like a trade agreement, but no, like he started like flashing the cash and taking as many people as
Who's he? Dusty Rhodes or Vince?
No, Vince. Vince. Yeah, and then of course WrestleMania happened. Like we can get way more into it, but you know we only got like an hour and a half.
That's today, what I was saying. Is this going to be enough time for this? But I mean, you said yes. Well, I mean, because if people want to find out more about it, you still have your YouTube videos up there that people can watch for sure. And I'll tell you, wrestling is not something that really people talk about, at least not over here in China. It's not as big. I'm sure there's a Chinese.
China, it's not.
Japan, huge. Korea, not sure, but China, no.
Yeah. Japan, well, China, very small. There is a couple indie leagues here and there, but no. From in your area, like where you're out, Japan, 100%. Like if you want wrestling, you go to Japan. Like New Japan is huge. Like their shows are massive. Like when they sell at the Tokyo Dome, it is insane. Really? Yeah, but the thing that I love, I didn't love, but like during COVID, like the fans, they were told like you can attend the shows, you're just not allowed to clap or cheer,
because that will stop the virus.
It was so interesting watching. Like they behaved, they would just sit there and just watch, and I'm just like, how are the performers doing this? Because you know, as like a performer, if the audience is bad, you're not going to give your best performance. That like you can be Juilliard trained actor, like one of the most phenomenal actors in the world, but if the audience isn't reacting to what you're
the lines that you're dropping,
your energy, your energy just goes down, which is funny because that's segue into my YouTube. That's kind of what happened with me. Like I did everything people told you to stick to a normal schedule, post content, consistently, network, go on other people's shows. I did all that shit. I posted 3 videos a week. I was consistent with my scheduling. I did variety. I did one thing. I did another thing. I went on other people's.
And you had nice thumbnails.
And nothing. Yeah, I said I put effort into my thumbnails and nothing. Like I said, so I did it for 3.5 years. There's well over
300 videos.
Well over 300 videos.
I was just watching it this morning. That's why I know these numbers so fresh in my mind.
Nothing. Like I said, I think my highest video count was like 1,000 views total. and that's only because it was like a reaction video. And like some of my and I tried like live action stuff where I would right after a pay-per-view I'd go on and talk about the pay-per-view, or I would do like a long form review where I would actually write the script and like edit it and shoot like different takes and like funny jokes in between and special effects, and those would take months. Like some of those would take 2 to 3 months to put up. Nothing. So it was just originally I was like, I'm not doing this just for the views, I'm doing this because I'm having fun, but eventually it just became not fun anymore. I was just like, and I also found myself that I was watching wrestling for the sole purpose of doing
with the critical
videos.
eye of a vlogger.
Yeah, basically. So I'm like watching the match and taking notes, and I'm not enjoying the match anymore because I'm literally like, okay, all right, at 4 minutes 38 seconds this happened, and I was just, and like even going to like friends' houses for like pay-per-views, they're like what are you doing? I'd have like notebooks and out and like taking notes, and I wasn't enjoying it as a fan anymore.
Oh, that's important. So because if you don't, then what kind of show do you have at that?
Yeah. So I also found too, like near the end, the quality also dropped too because I just stopped caring. Like it's just like, whoa.
Have you thought about maybe if you didn't put so much effort into the production? Because I know, like, I hear what you're saying, and I mean, you said the 3.5 year mark, and I go for this podcast, this big podcast, I call it the Big Cast. I've been doing this for since 2020, April 2020. But I started out trying to do that once a week, and then it became like, well, once every 2 weeks. Then it became once a month. Then it became, fuck it, I can't do this. It's too stressful. And that's when I started interviewing people, like talking to others. And it's become like I try to do one a month, but it might not happen. And even when I record these things, I put the date on it, but it might be weeks before until it comes out. And that's why I don't edit it either. Like they're full length, just because like if I start to do full length everything's, if I tried to edit everything, it would take even longer. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. It's that would take the fun out of it. It would sap all of the fun of talking to people, getting the emotionality, if you will, the topics, and then the rawness of it. So I'm just like, just put it up there. I mean, who's going to listen to the whole thing anyway? Maybe 3-4 people. So have you ever thought about like pulling yourself back on the production side of things?
Well, if you actually watch the order of the videos, the first ones that came out were the high production ones. And then as it went on, I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't put as much effort into it. And just nothing out of it. Like I might go back to do it again one day, but it's just like, I really like what I'm doing now. So like, ironically, one of the guys I used to work with, he was streaming on Mixer. So
that one.
dead program doesn't it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, it was bought out by so initially when they first came out, Ninja went over to Mixer. Like, the big streamer Ninja like went over there, and it's like, oh my god, it's like the new platform that's gonna kill Twitch and all that stuff. And a lot of people jump ship to Mixer. And then my buddy, like he was on there and he said like, hey, you used to do YouTube videos. Do you play video games? Well, I'm like, oh yeah, a little bit. Well, how about you try like on Mixer? And he showed me some of his videos. Okay, that kind of looks fun, but I don't really got a good computer though. I can't really stream like high-end games. And then bing, light bulb appeared in my head. Well, shit, I do have a capture card. I could just plug my Nintendo in because I'm pretty sure like my computer could handle like shitty old Nintendo games, and there you go. So I became a retro streamer because I enjoy retro games. Like I don't have any new.
Are you actually using the NES for those streams?
Yes and no. It depends on the title. So like yesterday with Mario RPG, no, because I'm not a billionaire. I don't own Mario RPG. But yeah, like, well, here's a prime example. Like I play this every now and then. I got a copy of Shadowgate, which is not super rare. But no, it's here. So right now, due to space, I just have my PlayStation 2 and my N64 plugged in to the system, but I can swap them out anytime. But yeah, like if I own the cartridge, I'm going to use the real hardware,
and they still work
100%. And I take care. I open these, I clean these, I take care of these. But that's the benefit is like there's a lot of great titles out there that you can emulate, and I blame WADA for all of this.
Who's WADA?
Like the video game grading company. It's the video game grading company. The retro market used to be kind of if you wanted to buy an old game, you could. They weren't super expensive. Now people started sending in their video games to get graded, and for some weird reason, putting a game in a plastic case so you can never play it ever again with a little sticker telling you how pretty it is makes it worth like 1,000 times more. Okay. I don't understand. So there's some titles out there which what's like Mario RPG, prime example. If you want like a crappy copy, is $150. My all-time favorite game, Earthbound, you're looking almost $1,000 for like a pristine copy, and it's just there's just to be a retro game player, like it's impossible. Like old games should not be worth more than new games.
I guess there's something to be said about that. I'm a part of some of these Facebook groups, it's like Super Nintendo and NES Classic and stuff like that. And they post the prices of the cartridges. And I think the gold mine is when there's like there's a garage sale or someone's throwing something out and they're like, oh my God, I found the original NES with packages and everything. Like those are the gold mines. But usually when you go to these stores, these retro stores or the collectible stores, the cartridges are in the hundreds of dollars, or eBay especially.
Okay, because they know the value. The retro market here in Winnipeg's impossible because there's a lot of us. Like there's a ton of us. I have never found anything at a yard sale or Value Village or anything because these guys, that's their job. They don't have real jobs. No, like I'm not like if they see like there's this one guy, I'm not going to say his name. He'll drive around and he'll on a Wednesday, he'll see like a garage sale coming up on the weekend. Oh, he'll go to that house on the Thursday. Hey, I'm not going to be in town this weekend. What are you selling? No, and he'll snag up all the video game stuff, but before the garage sales even.
That's clever. Give it to him
because he'll actually offer them a little bit more than what they were going to sell it for. But a lot of these people don't know the price of it. A lot of them don't know the price. Oh, here's NES games. Oh, my son moved away to college. I'm selling his old games.
Wow,
and
mom,
and that's how these people get it. Yeah, exactly, and that's how these people get some of these games. And then like a good friend of mine, he's a fair garage sale guy. Actually, if you want to check him out on YouTube, it's Team G Sale. So Team Garage Sale. So Team G Sale. His name's Matt. Okay. I went to high school with a phenomenal guy. Like he's fair, he's honest. I've dealt with him a couple times for trading. He actually owns a complete Wii collection. He has every single Wii game ever produced, including like overseas titles. Wow. And that took him a couple of years to get.
No, yeah.
But yeah, like he had this amazing score a couple of weeks ago to garage sale, and he filmed the whole thing. Like he went there because he always goes with like a GoPro and just a stack of video games on a table for like $2. And he got like he got like Mega Man 1, Bubble, like phenomenal titles. And I just like you have horseshoes in your butt, my man. But I said he goes to the garage sales, fair and square. He doesn't pull shady crap. Like he's in it for like honest stuff, but this is also kind of his side job. Is he's also a flipper as well too. Evil flippers.
Can you make decent coin flipping these games?
Oh yeah. Like so, some of them, I say like $2. Well, there you go. He buys Mega Man for $2. You can sell that one for like $150, and people will buy. I know there's the old saying: something's only worth as much if you're willing to pay for it. In the video game market, people are willing to pay for it.
I almost think that I'm almost at that age where I'd buy that thing. But the problem with a guy like me who's like, I'll pay $150 for a cartridge is that I might get suckered, and I don't like that idea. So I want to what I tend to do if I'm ever looking at collectibles is I sort of verify the seller or the retailer, make sure that they you find some reviews about whether or not they're providing any good stuff. They're honest. Because I mean, if they're providing shady stuff, that's going to pop up at some point, right? There's no way that you can game the internet for as long as you need to keep a shady business operational, at least with retro games. So,
well, also too, there's a lot of counterfeiting out there, tons of counterfeiting. Luckily, like a lot of the collectors, we know what to look for. Like a lot of them too, like when you go to like a store to sell them your collection, they'll sit there and they'll check every game. Like they'll open up every cartridge. They'll check the discs. So like a big prime example, like just because it's the only title I have currently here because I've been playing this one. A lot of times, it's just that little you can't really see that little light, but just like the actual little Nintendo, the way it's stamped into the package.
Okay.
Because that font really doesn't exist anymore. So it's like the way the eye, because on the actual Nintendo, I believe it's a square above the eye. Yeah, it kind of looks like a square where other people will stamp it as a regular eye with like a circle.
Oh, okay.
The way the screws line up, the kind of screws they use. But yeah, like a lot of times though, like yeah, they'll crack the game open and they'll check the circuit board because you can tell an original circuit board from a
modified
reproduction circuit board very
right.
easily.
I've seen on some of these SNES forums that they take a look at because some of the batteries burn out or the batteries die, like the cartridges. As much when saving your game became the thing, it's like no one. Maybe they didn't think of it, but like those batteries, those little 5-volt batteries, basically have a 30-year
like the little circle
a lifetime or something like that, 25. And so those are like the one part that they'll accept being replaced because it's you have to in order to play the original cartridge.
Actually, ironically, this game here is a save feature. I always remember you could tell because the back would have a gold sticker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
And it would let you know, hey, when you're turning this off, you have to hold reset when you turn the power off because you could short out the battery.
Okay.
And like as a kid, you didn't know. You're like, oh, why is my game deleted?
Yes.
But then of course, like like many years later came out like where the good old memory cards where you could fit thousands of games on these little PlayStation memory cards. This is a PS2 memory card, which is my newest PlayStation is a PS2, which I said I don't own new systems. My newest system is a Wii U, and we only bought it because the wife wanted the new Mario Kart. That's the only reason why we got a Wii.
Does your wife play video games as much as you do?
That's all we use it for is literally Mario Kart.
Does your wife play video games as much as you do? You do?
No, God, no. She likes racing games though. So like Snowboard Kids, she loves Snowboard Kids. Mario Kart, that's her jam, and like Mario Party. Like she likes big multiplayer fun games. And then my son, he likes Mario Kart too. Mario Kart's like his go-to as well too. So I've slowly been training him. I've slowly been getting him into games. And then me, I'm more like I love platformers, like side scroller platformers and RPGs. Those are like my two jams.
That's pretty neat though.
So when you watch the channel, you notice that's what I play most of.
Well, I've been watching you play Mega Man 3 or Mega Man 2. I saw some of Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3. And yeah, when you say that you're a terrible gamer, I couldn't help but agree because I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Don't do that. But I remember playing these games, and I don't play video games now because I don't have any patience for them. The way that you deal with defeat is so much better than I deal with defeat, even in the video game world. So kudos to you for having such patience.
Well, I think the biggest issue with me is because I have ADHD. You can tell right now as we're talking, I'm all like, whoa, plastic bag. Like I'm looking all over the place. For me, my biggest thing that I want to do when I'm streaming is I don't care if I beat the game. I could give a rat's butt if I beat the game. I just want the people to be entertained. So I will talk the entire time to the people. So when I'm talking, I don't know what's going on. I'll be like, hey, and you'll notice that if I'm to actually just sit down and focus on a game, yes, I can beat it. But it's the whole like talking and keeping engagement with the people in front of you while you're trying to game is what's really hard. And then, that's kind of the thing is like when you watch a lot of streamers, you'll see that the streamers that are interacting with the people, they're the ones that are dying the most.
Right.
But then it's like those hardcore focused ones that are just like,
yeah.
They beat the game, but there's no interaction whatsoever. But yet they still have like 18,000 viewers.
Do people prefer the interaction or like watching how someone actually beats a game?
It depends. It depends. Like some people do, some people like me personally, I like to interact. Like if they're interacting with the crowd, great. Like me, if they beat the game, great. That's awesome. But if not, oh well, life goes on. We'll just beat it again next time.
And you only play for an hour. I was actually surprised. Is this like a wife instantiated time limit or
it's not a wife instantiated time limit. It's a so with our kid
it's
like
it's being a parent.
I just like how can I word this correct? He is on the autism spectrum, so I can't really dedicate to like even now if something happens I gotta go, like that's kind of thing. So like I don't want to dedicate to a long stream in case something happens.
All right.
Like if they're not home, you'll notice there's a couple streams in there that were like 2-3 hours. Yeah, those are the ones when they weren't home. But also too, it's also my ADHD and my anxiety as well too. Like like I think it's just like the imposter syndrome in me, like, am I doing good? Like, like something kind of come into me midway through, like, am I actually entertaining these people? Oh my God. And then I get all sweaty and it's just disgusting. And yeah.
Well,
but yeah, like I also prefer just like an hour because like I got a lot on the go all the time. Like when I'm not streaming, I'm working on other projects. Like I said, I'm editing people's scripts. I'm working on D&D stuff. I'm being a dad, hanging out with the wife. Like, I don't want to dedicate, like my entire night to streaming because, what does it say about me?
Well, it's good though. I mean, when I saw that you only had an hour-long stream, first of all, I'm like, okay, that's doable for me. I could watch at least some of this. Number two, I was like, that's actually a decent amount. You only commit a certain amount of time, and then you're like, you're done. So you don't just keep on going. Oh, one more life, 10 more minutes, one more time, one more try. Because one more try, it's like Civilization, where it's one more try could be another 6 hours of your evening, sort of thing.
And that's another thing too, is like me, as like you even said, like, it's the attention thing. Like, people listening to your podcast, like, are they going, just as a person, you have two choices. Oh, this one's an hour, this one's 6 hours.
Yep.
But it's kind of funny, like with a movie, oh, that movie's 3.5 hours, I can't watch that. Ooh, but I just binge watched this entire season of a TV show that took 22. Like,
TV shows are paced differently, and at least they're only 51 minutes. They're like 50, or no, what's the running time? 41 minutes. So it's not a full hour, right? And that's the
So and you don't see it, and a lot of times an episode ends with a cliffhanger. So you're like, oh, I have to see what's next.
Yeah. I personally think movies have gotten too long. The Marvel Universe thing, I'm fed up with them. They're 3-hour epics. I'm going, this is too much. Like, I think, and for me personally, there's got to be a return to the 90-minute time limit. 90 minutes, that's it. Make them double features, but make them 2 different films, 90 minutes tops.
Yeah. Well, for me, it depends on the genre. Like an action movie, okay, 2 hours and under, okay, fine. 3 hours is a lot for a lot of movies. But like a comedy, 90 minutes and under, all right?
That's all you need.
Like Judd Apatow, I love you. You're a phenomenal director. Why is 40-Year-Old Virgin 2.5 hours? Why? Explain to me how you could take this one joke, which is what the movie is based off of, one joke, and spread it across.
I didn't realize it was 2.5 hours. And how many scenes do you remember anyway from that movie? Right, the removal of the chest hair. I think that's the big one.
The chest hair. Seth Rogen just taking his shirt off at the end with that girl in the hot tub. Hey, I'm Cal. What's up? And that the East Indian guy that he works with, where he's like, give her the alligator fuck house. And that's pretty much it. Those are the 3 scenes where I'm like, okay, cool, we got this. But it's so unnecessary. And I like Steve Carell. I think Steve Carell's freaking hilarious, but I'm just like,
and go figure, you can binge watch 6 episodes of The Office very quickly. But I mean, that's still only 2 hours, right? I mean, it's 21 minutes a piece. And that show is funny though. That pacing was beautiful, wonderfully done.
I'm very pro cast. Cast matters 100%. 2 of my favorite films, one of them gets a lot of recognition, and the other one a lot of people have never even heard of. So the first one is Clue. Phenomenal movie based off the board game. It's like Tim Curry's in it, Christopher Lloyd, Madeline Kahn's in it, Eileen Brennan, like just phenomenal cast. But they work so well with each other. Like they're just constantly zinging off of one another, and like that's what makes that movie so funny. Then there's another movie called Noises Off. It's got Carol Burnett, John Ritter, Christopher Reeve, Michael Caine, like pretty star-studded cast. A lot of people have never even heard of it. So the premise of that one is it's like a traveling theater troupe, and they're putting on a show, but during that show, everything known to man goes wrong, but they're just dealing with it as it's going on. And once again, they're just working so well off it. Like, I'm very just pro when the cast works together. It's magic.
Ensemble, I guess it is.
Like, I don't like one man show. Yeah, ensembles. Like, it comes down to the whole thing, And then there's like other things where it's like, well, he's really good. Well, what about everyone else? Like, you don't really. Which is why I think The Office worked as a show, because everyone was really good with each other.
Even the new members, as
And
they got fed into the script later on, as the show kind of
Mhm.
kept on going,
Mhm.
and I thought it was funny when Ricky Gervais was doing one of his Golden Globe spectacular introductions, was talking about how Steve Carell decided to leave The Office, and he's like, "Yeah, and you just took our entire paycheck with you," sort of thing. You've destroyed the whole series by leaving, not the entire series, but I mean that was like season 9 or 10. I can't remember which one, but
but well, and here's the thing is like I was originally like on board to it's like, it's gonna be dumb. I'm not it's still carried on. Like I like Andy as a character, but him taking over the lead role, I was like, like he wasn't the right choice as the new leading guy. But it was still funny. But I like because as the show got, because originally when it first came out, it was like, like Michael, Dwight, Jim, like they were always in the forefront. And then you kind of saw a little bit of Kevin, you kind of saw a little bit of Angela and Phyllis and Stanley. But then as the seasons went on, they became more prominent. And I loved that. I loved, like, Kevin is great. Kevin is brilliant. Like Stanley, frick, like I just love, he's just a grumpy old ass. Like he just hates everything, but it's so funny because he delivers everything just with like that deadpan look on his face. And Creed is just so good, like such a good show. Like Office wasn't even on our docket to talk about. I like this. I like that we're just kind of Office.
Well, we're talking about The Office, but spending money on production, because you spent quite a bit of money on getting yourself set up. So you bought lights, microphones, camera. How much did you spend? What kind of camera did you get? Because I am interested. And was it worth it to sort of make that jump?
Okay, so kind of interesting story. So when I first started out, I actually didn't really have a proper webcam. So what I was using was like an old Canon, like not even like an XLR, like it's or not XLR. XLR's microphones. Like one of them fancy ass Canon. I don't know. I forget what they're called. I was using like just this ghetto one that like connected with like an S video port, like just like if you actually watch like my older YouTube videos, you can see that camera. So you'll actually see about midway through when the video switches. You're like, oh, okay. So I was using that. But yeah, like when I first started streaming, I actually already had the new webcam. So what I'm using, it's a Logitech, I think it's a 920, if I'm not mistaken. It's a little low grade now, but back at the time, it was like S tier. It was like top of the line. But this is like 3 years old now, so it's a little outdated. As for the microphone, it's kind of a fun story, but it's also a sad story. I actually inherited the microphone.
Oh, okay.
So my buddy Dan, actually he used to do Fringe as well too. He was not Dan Walchuk, Dan Chandrowski, rest in peace. He did like a lot of Fringe, but he worked in the radio industry. He actually worked for when he passed away, he was with Bob FM, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Like he wasn't an on-air personality, like he was a behind the scenes producer. But he did a lot of like voice work and a lot of stuff like that. So when he passed away, his parents kind of like, let us, pick through his stuff because they didn't want to, obviously kind of, and like I came across the microphone and I was like, well, Joel, you're that guy, like you're the theater guy. You should take his microphone. And I was like, yeah, why not? But then it just kind of sat there and I didn't really use it because like you need phantom power to work it. Like it's an actual OG, like a lot of like, Yeti mics, you just plug in, good to go. Like, no, like this is an actual professional microphone where you have to run it through a board.
Which one is it?
The specific microphone, it's a Tascam LD74. So it's a pretty old, it's about 10 years old. Like it's a pretty old microphone.
I can say it's a gorgeous sounding microphone.
There we go.
In that little break that we had, I was listening to the audio and I'm thinking my voice is coming across very tinny right now. I'm like, I'm going to have to boost the low end at the in post-production. But no, your voice is sounding very good. And on your Twitch streams, this is the microphone that you use for all your live streams and everything. Right. Yeah. No, it's a very good sounding microphone.
Why don't you use it? No, this is garbage. Do not use this.
The head. Yeah. No, that's the lie. You're living a lie by having the headset on.
I only have this just for this. Like I said, if I could have it coming through speakers, I wouldn't even use these.
Right.
And then I have a little 2-channel Behringer mixer. So pretty much all it's really used for is just capturing the microphone. So I have two inputs. So it's the microphone goes through it, and the computer and the PC tower goes through it. So I can get the game audio because I have the. So if I'm streaming directly off the computer with an emulator, yeah, that comes through the PC, and then I have my Elgato HD60 capture card.
Right. Okay. You spent money on that one.
The funny story about that one.
Oh, you got that one for free too.
That was a gift. That was a gift from my viewers.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so a lot of them, yeah, patched together because I was using an old streaming card, like a ghetto ass USB, plug it into the back.
Yep,
like the type with the RCA, like so it's fine. But then they were like. So they pitched together and got me an HD 60. So it's like HD.
That's fantastic. Fancy. That's good to hear.
Yeah. So then the PC runs through that, and then that runs directly into the OBS, which runs on. So it's kind of like a loop thing. But the cool thing about this little 2 mixer is I could actually plug in like an XLR microphone, which is what this is in. I can also plug in a 1/4 inch. Which is what guitars and stuff use. So I can actually plug in my guitar to this. I can plug in my bass to this, and it will record decently. Not the best because it's only a 1 channel on that. Where if you're doing like an instrument, you want to have a couple channels going in through it. Usually, you have to capture all the different. Oh, you're a musician as well, so.
I've gone digital, man. People like I still call myself a drummer, but I now have an iPad Pro, and I'm like, it's very difficult for me to justify ever getting a drum kit. I have them in Winnipeg still, but those might be gone. It doesn't break my heart. It saves my brain and my brain, and allows me to be far more productive than I ever was with just a drum kit. And no one complains about the noise.
Well, yeah, me I still have my drum. I still have the same set of drums from my PWR days. It's still the same kit that Roman gave me as a gift. Yeah, Roman. I actually told him that I was doing this with you, and he's like, "Oh, tell me say hi."
Okay, but has Roman since got on social media, or at all got any sort of digital electronic products that we can contact him? No,
If you want to get a hold of Roman, you have to either text him or DM his wife or DM. Yeah, Roman is still anti, and it's actually Roman lives right by me. Like Roman lives maybe like a 10-minute car ride, 20-minute walk.
Right.
So I actually see him quite often. I mean, me and Ro actually end up quite a bit. So
he's one of 2 guys I know who sort of swore off social media, and like I am so much on the flip side of it. I appreciate the being of the type of going, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going down the rabbit hole. On the other side, like you and me, trying to make a gig of it, basically. It's very hard. At what point do you say enough is enough? At which platforms are important? Because you look at the bigs, the people who made it huge, they didn't have all the platforms that they do today, right? They publish on them now because they have marketing people working for them. But back in the day, it was like content was supreme, and then it spread out to the content channels afterwards.
It's so fun because like YouTube's been around for a long time. Like YouTube's been around for 15 plus, if I'm not mistaken, for sure.
But it's changed and it's easier to use.
It's easier, but that's things like those. So that's another reason. Like I'll admit, like I jumped onto the platform too late. Like I think if I would have started when YouTube first came out, I'd probably be some, because you watch a lot of those like big time YouTubers. You watch some of those old videos, they're horrible, but you watched them because they were fun.
Yes.
But like now kind of echoing back to like the whole Twitch thing. Now there's a new program out called Kik, and once again it's going to be okay.
Kik, like KIK, the one that all the
KICK.
Okay, not the Special Friends app.
Yeah. So how I ended up on Twitch actually is going to backtrack a little bit. Is Mixer actually got bought out by Facebook Gaming. And it came out of nowhere. Like they flat out said, like, "Hey, you have 1 month left on this platform." We're like, "Wait, what?" So a bunch of us jumped. So like out of our retro group, about 95% of us went to Twitch. A lot of them were on Twitch previously, and then they went over to Mixer when Mixer came out because it was the new thing.
Yeah.
And about 5% stayed on Facebook gaming, and Facebook gaming's crumbled. Like it's a dead medium. Like
Is it
I
still
looked at
there?
it's still there, but it's impossibly hard to use. Like it is not user friendly. Like you need like an electronic engineering PhD to figure this thing out. So then a lot of us stayed on Twitch, but now Kik has come out, which is this brand new thing, and a lot of the group is now going over to Kik. Main reason why is because they're promising, oh, it's a 5% payout where the creators keep 95% and we'll only take 5%. Okay, that's cool for right now because you guys only have a couple stream. What happens when everybody goes over? And now you guys have to start expanding your servers, expanding your bandwidth. Is that 5% going to pay for all that? Probably not. No. So now they're going to take that little 5% contract and switch it over to what Twitch is doing, which is a 50-50.
Yeah.
Like everyone's only gone because, they're paying us more money. That's the only reason why everybody's jumped out. Like I went on there. They just started out like there's not a lot to do. Like it's very hard. Like the way that you stream yourself, like there's a lot of fun things that you can do on Twitch that you can't do on Kik yet. Like eventually they'll probably get there, but I just think that this little carrot that they're dangling is just, it's too good to be true. Because I guarantee within about a year and a half, when they realize that they cannot afford to pay this 95%, they're going to change that contract pretty darn quick. So.
It sounds like, if it sounds too good to be true, I mean, how many of these platforms have you seen come and go over the last over the last year, over the last 3 years?
Oh, tons.
The one that I've seen that Bigo is the one that I was sort of going on because I think that actually David Zealous, you know David as well, so he's on there and he was talking to me about it because it's a Chinese company or Singaporean or something like that, and I was looking at it and just going, I just can't see how this is a viable sort of thing for me to do. But he makes a go of it. He's doing okay with it as far as I know. But I'm going, if I had 1 hour per night to spend, would this be the hour on the platform that I'd want to put it on?
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, so many things have come, like it's like any medium that's ever come out, like WWE, all these leagues have come in, they're the WWE killer, and like right now AEW, like, they're gonna put them at, no, they're not. You know how much money Vince McMahon has? Like, come on, like he doesn't care. He's like, oh no, you have higher viewers than us. I'm just counting my billions. Like, I really don't give a shit.
Now he is. He wasn't always like that. He doesn't always, it didn't always have the cash. He made the WWF into the big thing that it is.
As much of a horrible human he is, like, I'll admit he's not, but most guys from that era, they were sexist, race, like that's just the way that's just the way guys were back then. And like he hasn't evolved from that. But without him, wrestling wouldn't be like one. I 100% agree. Without Vince and Hulk Hogan, as much as it hurts me on the inside to say this, because I hate Hulk Hogan with a fiery passion. I know. Even as a kid, I didn't like Hulk Hogan. I liked the bad guys.
Why?
I was a weird child. $1 Million Man was my favorite wrestler growing up.
$1 Million Man, is he still alive? Ted DiBiase?
Ted DiBiase's still alive, yeah. Okay. But he is going under a couple legal issues at the moment that we will not discuss.
Probably with women or lawsuits?
No, it's actually insurance. Not tax stuff, which is funny because he was the $1 Million Man, even though that wasn't his money. That was Vince's money.
Wasn't his money at all, but okay, so there's 2 people that you hate, 3 people that you hate. Vince McMahon. No, you don't hate Vince McMahon. You hate Hulk Hogan and you hate Uncle Joe.
Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe. And I was watching one of your streams and I was like, who's this Grandpa Joe? Because I've seen your posts on Facebook going, who is this guy? And well, it's Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Okay. And is that the old movie that you keep on sending all these memes from?
Yeah.
What's the story here?
Okay, so as a kid, like, I love Roald Dahl. He's like one of my favorite authors. He was not a very good person either. Like, once you got older, you're like, oh, he did a lot of bad things too. So like as a kid, I watched Charlie and the Chocolate. It never dawned on me. Like, I was like, okay, Grandpa Joe. But then as I got older and took film classes and like actually understand like story structure, it dawned on me that like Grandpa Joe's a piece of shit. Like he's a horrible person. Okay, so
why? Well, what's so horrible about him?
He doesn't contribute. He's pretty much like he sits in bed all like I get he's old. I understand. Like, old people need their rest. He probably contributed a lot to society when he was younger, but he doesn't do anything. Like he sits in there, doesn't contribute. Like they're poor, so he doesn't contribute anything. But then like Charlie's like, oh, I got a golden ticket, and he's like, oh, skibbly dibbly do, I can do stuff now. And then like the entire time when they're at the chocolate factory, he's trying to like influence Charlie to do bad things and horrible things. So like in reality, like Grandpa Joe is the villain. Like he doesn't contribute
innocently. I mean, is he the one who encourages them to drink the bubble fluid or whatever it is, the bubble juice?
Yes, he is. Yes, okay. He is.
But I mean, it's all part of the the grandpa. Can you say license? The old aged license of like, this won't kill you, grandchild. I mean, this will help you grow as a
but no, so just out of nowhere, I just found some Grandpa Joe memes one day, and I was like, yeah, he's horrible. And then I just posted it as a joke just to see if like anyone would like react to it. And some people did. So now every Sunday I post how much I hate Grandpa. In reality, I don't hate Grandpa Joe. He's just not the best. But then on my Twitch stream, I actually have one of my cash-in redemptions.
Yes.
It's just so I took, with my video editing skills, because I'm just so awesome, I took the scene from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where he's singing I Got a Golden Ticket. And then in Cabin in the Woods, when the guy's yelling at the kids, telling them to go fuck themselves, I just kind of crossed them together.
Oh, that's where that quote's from. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering which one that one is.
Cabin in the Woods, brilliant movie, by the way. Like,
don't
if
think
you
I've
like
seen
horror, put that on your list. It's an homage to like a lot of the great 1980s horror movies, but it's done in a really fun and creative way.
I haven't.
Plus, it's got Chris Hemsworth in it. I mean, come on.
The last horror movie that I was like, that's a decent Paranormal Activity was the last horror movie I was like, that was well done.
The first one was really well done. And then after that, you're like,
well, they're still making them, aren't they?
Yeah, you're just like, why? Why are we still doing this? It's
the like second one, I think it was like a gimme, and there was another one, but the one with the Ring. The Ring was good.
Yeah, like the first
even like the Western version. The first Western version was decent. And then there was another one with who's the is it the doll? That's not Chucky. I'm talking like modern
Annabelle.
Annabelle. That one was kind of creepy.
The first one was really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
another horror movie that I think is brilliant. So they made two cuts of it. It's called The Descent.
I've heard this one.
Yeah, there's the UK cut, so the English cut. Then there's the North American. Don't take the North American cut, burn it, throw it away. Does not exist. The UK cut is terrifying. Plus, it has the original.
What did they change?
So the North American one, they changed the ending. They made it more wholesome.
That's important.
More wholesome and family friendly. So the entire, I don't want to give away too much, but the whole premise is that it's a bunch of cave spelunkers. So they go into a cave. So the UK cut, it's dark, like so you can hear stuff, you can slightly see things, but you don't really know what's going on a lot of times because it's like they purposely make it
like
dark.
The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, so there's like a little bit of light. The American cut, they turn the gamma way up so you can see like little subtle things in the background, and it changes the atmosphere big time. And like me, I like the unknown, like the original Jaws. I like that you can't see the shark. Like, I don't want to know what the monster looks like. I like the big reveal at the end. Like I'm all about the reveal when it comes to horror movies. So I think just by them changing the ending and making it more family friendly and just seeing the various, spooky things in the movie, it's just, it's okay. But yeah, if you can find the UK cut, strongly recommend it. Very well.
The real horror story is all the social media out there. Let me tell you, isn't it? Actually, this is one thing that I remember my mother criticizing me whenever I was watching these types of movies. And then I know as a filmmaker, there's three types of intro movies that you can make if you're going to make a feature film. It's horror, comedy, and love. Right. And out of those, love would be the hardest to pull off. Comedy is decent enough, but it's got to be good comedy. But horror
is easy.
Take 4 kids, not children, but teenagers, put them in the woods, chop them up. That's basically the script that I was told to do if you're going to make a feature film, which is why you see a lot of horror films as first films from these directors, is because it's just the easiest thing to do.
Horror, 100%. I fully agree. Like I said, like both of us, we have very similar training. Yeah, one horror, yeah, like cookie cutter group of kids. All four of them have to have like a specific character trait. So you have to have the smart guy, the jock, the idiot derpy dude, and like the innocent girl. Oh, and a five, and yeah, you have to have the hoe. You have to have the saucy lady. You have to have her in there too. You have to kill them off in a certain order. And it's funny because we were just talking about Cabin in the Woods. That's kind of a hidden joke in Cabin in the Woods, so I'm not going to reveal too much about it. But yeah, you throw them in the woods and you chop them up. Done. Like maybe throw a demon in there. Maybe throw a cult. Like
always classic. I mean, I was actually I was debating of getting back into filmmaking, toying with the idea, and the one thing that sort of holds me back is like it's got to be good, decent quality. It's got to be a good script, good story. But every time I kind of look around, I'm going, it's not that hard to shoot a film. I mean, and do you really even need a script? You need a bunch of scenes that can kind of be spliced together, and you just turn down the lights. If you're making a horror film, especially the religious ones, those are easy. I mean, you can have a book in a dark room and some chanting in Latin, and there you go. That's creepy. I mean,
just chat and don't even have it Latin. Make it sound like Latin. Like
make it sound like Latin. Put it backwards. Who knows? I mean, just use Esperanto. No one knows that anyway.
It's just and like for me, like for a movie, like a script is always number one for me. Like the story dialogue is always number one for me. Like it can look, you can put all the money into freaking cinematography, special effects, but if the dialogue is trash, I'm out. Which is why it just bugs me and it pains me. And hot take, Avatar is a crap movie, and I will stand by it. I will stand on that hill forever. Everyone I know who saw it, I was like, what? Oh, well, the 3D was really good.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Anything else? No.
Well, no, he built everything for it. I think James Cameron is known for like pushing him and George Lucas. Yeah. He's the modern sort of George Lucas of the people who literally move the entire industry forward to a new standard because they create the technology that looks so cool that when new people make movies, their friends ask them, well, why don't you do what Avatar did? And it's like, well, because I don't have the $1 billion budget for it.
And things like, I like James Cameron. Like I said, he's a Canadian filmmaker. He's done some great movies like Terminator 1. Thank you for Alien. Like, thank you for like
how soon we forget that those were his movies.
Yeah. And then Titanic. Like, I don't hate Titanic.
You can't. It's impossible. It's
like,
is it one of my favorites? Such a fantastic job with it just because it was such an epic movie and marketed it so brilliantly, licensed the shit out of it.
And that's the thing is like movies that are based on real life tragedies. A lot of times you have to make it a romance movie because there's not a lot else going on. Like, because it was literally just the Titanic. All right, we're going. Bruce sinks. The end. Like
it sinks. Yeah, a lot of people die.
Same. Pearl Harbor, same thing. Like, okay, the Japanese attack. That's it. Like that's 10 minutes. Like you have to add all this other stuff into there. Pearl Harbor though is not very well executed. Though I just visually wasn't really good. I didn't care for any of the characters. Cuba Gooding Jr. was good, but he was also based on a real character. Like his character was an actual real person. Like he was based on one of the actual soldiers from that era. Where the other guys is like, okay, we're gonna throw them in there. Titanic. I think anything that has Billy Zane in, I'm just gonna be like, all right, cool. Like I think he is what makes that movie so good for me. But visually, it was a well done movie. It was paced very well. You actually feel for all those characters. Is it one in my top 10? No, far from it, but it's still a very well done film.
So you're saying that you're doing a lot of script reading and corrections and stuff like that. So what part do you play in that script process?
So this filing cabinet right here. So it's 3 tiers. 2 tiers is scripts that people have just given me that I've kind of read and like edited and give them pointers, but I also get to keep them. And then the bottom's all my D&D stuff. But we can talk about Dungeons and Dragons later. No, essentially what it is I'll just read through it and I'll just kind of like, like not so much like grammatical errors because I'm a shit speller. I'm horrible at grammar. Like,
and that's neither here nor there. I mean, that people aren't
Yeah.
looking for grammar when they're trying to make a movie.
Yeah. Well, and it's fun because like when you watch a lot of movies too, like Kevin Smith, funny, love him, he's great. People don't talk like that. Like no one talks like that. But you laugh anyway because it's really good. Yeah, no, a lot of times, yeah, I'm just pacing. I'll really look for if I can move scenes around. Like the biggest thing, like even like editing, like because I also do a lot of film editing as well too, is the biggest thing that you'll know as like a guy who's taking film is, does it advance the plot? If it doesn't advance the plot in any way, that's usually going to be first to get cut out, which is sad because like sometimes some of those scenes are just so beautiful. And like, oh,
they look good. Well, isn't that the common? I remember it was Shireen Jarrett who was like, kill your darlings. Any shot that you're like, oh, that's so good, I have to leave it in. Kill that one first. Just take it out because it'll probably make the story a whole lot better.
Yeah, 100%. You can throw it in your director's cut later on.
Yes, the one that no one else watches except the geeky film boys.
You just sit there. What could have been? But yeah, no, yeah, 100%. You have to kill your babies. You have to kill your darlings. And as much as it hurts, does it advance? If it doesn't advance the plot, it doesn't have to be in there because just the way people's attention is, you have to get from point A to point B, and everything in the middle has to make sense. Like that's just the way our minds are. But yeah, so a lot of times, yeah, like just I'll play around with stuff. Like I don't usually do final drafts for people. I'm usually kind of the first set of eyes that they give.
Okay. The trusted eyes that you're not going to shit on their production, but you're going to still be motivating enough that they're going to go back to a second draft.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give them, like, if they don't have to listen to my advice, like, far from it. I'm not perfect because a lot of shit I write garbage. And in fact, it's actually funny. So like when I was writing those wrestling scripts, Roman was actually my editor for those. So I gave him the scripts, and then he would come back, but he would also throw a lot of his Roman charm in on some of those. So if you actually watch some of those, you'll actually see like written by JP and Roman K. So because some of his jokes are just that kid's nuts. But
so you mentioned a lot about these scripts, and that I mean, you have a film background, a theater background. What has been your history moving? Like, because we met early 2000s. I think
we met.
That's a fringe play, like Manish.
I think
Burning Meatloaf Productions.
Yeah,
and all
I met you during. I'm pretty sure I met you when Burning Meatloaf did their not Stay Out of Our Cabin, the one they did after that. So like the Burning Meatloaf show, like when you were the stage producer. But then I actually got to work with you 101 when we did Fish Unit. Like, so that was my first
I remember
working with you, but I was introduced to you during that first run.
Which I can't say that I was a very good stage manager.
That show, I think the biggest flaw to that show is making it a kid's show. That I think that was a big flaw, like a rap musical, and then converting it to a kid's show, because a lot of the original ideas that we had to cut to make family friendly, charging next to nothing for the production, and it didn't make sense. Like that's the thing. Like me, I was in the show and I have no idea what was going on. Don't get me wrong, I loved the cast. I love Josh. I love Paul. Phenomenal to work with. Like I had a ball working on that show. It was a lot of fun.
They were good writers too. I mean, that one was a bit of
confusing. It was just a really weird show.
Yeah.
But also too, they didn't really take to ideas very well. Because well, no, that's the thing, is like a lot of us were kind of like, hey, maybe we should try that. No. This is our baby. Okay. So, but yeah, I still enjoyed it. It was still a lot of fun.
Now you've done your own fringe productions though.
Yep.
Since then. So what have you done from theater and film since then? I mean, I know it's been a while, and it's Cannibal Musical that is on your YouTube channel. But so were you making full length productions as well? Is that what you were sort of getting into?
Okay, so very first, let's just redo my whole fringe history. So very first fringe play I ever did was with my high school sketch comedy group. It was called The Event. So my old sketch comedy group was the Boiling Brain Pot. They did a couple fringe shows. Like I kind of fell in and out. of them. So like in high school, I was full time in the group, and then after high school, I kind of stepped back. But then whenever they needed me, I would come back in, kind of thing. So I was more of a guest a lot of the times. So we did a show. It was called The Adventures of Clifford and Bernard: The Quest for the ID. So just the whole premise of the show is just there's this new horror movie coming out, and so me, I played Bernard. No, I was Clifford. I was Clifford, and David, another film student that we met, he played he played Bernard. So all it is we try to go to the movie. The security guard won't let us in because we're not 18. So we go on this magical quest to get fake IDs. And like it had everything. Like there was sword fighting and like a wizard and a hunchback. Like it was just bizarre. It's like this big fantasy adventure. And it's funny because
no wonder Paul and Josh brought you in then. I mean, it seems like you were sort of into that whole eclectic fantasy world anyway.
So we did it. We actually got a 4.5-star CBC review.
Wow.
Because the woman that saw it loved it. Problem is that review didn't get posted until the end of the Fringe. We did okay. Like we had okay houses. It was very weird though. Like, I enjoy it because that's my style of humor, but it was a good first experience. Then after that, I did a Fish Unit, which did okay. Then I did a show called Everyone's a Critic, which I wrote and produced with my old roommate Sebastian. That one did pretty decent.
So how many Fringe plays have you done total then? Do you still do them?
No. After we had the son, I've retired from theater and film.
Do you do any acting at all, or is it all on the back burner? Now it's just
it's mostly on the back door. I do voiceover work,
right?
And if someone needs me for something kind of quick, I'll usually jump in. I have turned down a lot of opportunities, which I regret.
Wow.
Well, no, because it's a timing because I said I can't dedicate to something because I said, what if something happens with my kid?
Yeah.
I would have to it would break my heart to do a production, and then day before the show, something happened, I can't do it. So that's why I'll do like voiceover work so I can just hand it in as I need it.
Yeah.
So I did Mighty Platypus Amazing Variety Show. I've done Cannibal the Musical, which was super fun to do. We'll get into that one eventually. The show I put the most effort into, besides Campbell, was called Retail. It was a one-man show because I've worked in retail for over 25 years.
You still work in retail, right?
Technically, yes. I work for a retail company.
What does this mean?
I work for a retail company, but I work at their corporate office.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a desk jockey now. I sit at a desk and crunch numbers. So I still technically work for retail, but I'm not on the battlefield fighting the customer. I've earned this, goddamn. So yeah, it was a one-man show about working in retail. It just started out as just kind of like jokes. I would just say with coworkers, and they're like, "Oh, you should really write a book or something." And I was like, "Well, shit, no, let's write a play because that's what I do already." So retail was essentially 3 years worth of just collecting data, like just funny stories that have happened to coworkers, and I give her full credit, but my mom kind of helped co-write it as well too because she worked for Eaton's for over 30 years.
Oh wow!
So a lot of her stories that she had from the 70s and the 80s made it into this final cut, and we did phenomenal. I didn't sell out any shows, but only because I was at the Planetarium Auditorium, which is a big,
huge,
small stage. That's where all the one-man shows are because it's a small stage. It's I think 12 feet by 7 feet. It's a small stage, but it holds 320 people.
What was your biggest audience?
200 and it was about 3/4 full. It was about 3/4 full.
And it's just you on stage.
It was just one man show, and it was just I had a ball doing it. It was super fun. I got a lot of positive feedback. I got another 4.5-star review from the Sun. I got 4 from the Free Press. CBC didn't like it. They only gave me a 3, and they had they called it an overzealous bitch fest. I was like, yeah, that was the point.
That was it.
That was the whole. They're saying he promised to reveal all the secrets behind retail. No, it's a bitch fest of how stupid customers are.
Of which we all are, aren't we? We're all the customer at some point, and we all. I mean,
sometimes I get this in
But
China whenever you travel.
Because, yeah, I did that show probably like 13 years ago, and now there's that guy on TikTok. I love him. He's phenomenal. You probably see him. He has like the mustache, and he does like a lot of retail things. And I was like,
which guy? I don't know.
Yeah, I forget his name. Brilliant. Absolutely. I'll see if I can find some of his videos and I'll send them to you later. Like, absolutely funny. But I'm just like sitting there like, I missed the boat, man, because I did that way before he did. Like, that was my thing. But whatever, good for him. Congratulations. But then a lot of people like compare, like, oh, you're just copying him. No. He copied me.
Yeah.
I literally have video proof.
The OG. You're the OG.
I did this in like 2008. And then so after that, I'm a big Trey Parker fan. Like Trey Parker, Matt's
all right.
Sorry, it was just like for like rumbling.
I heard rumbling too. Yeah.
We'll have to bleep. Big Trey Parker, Matt Stone fan. So the creators of South Park. Trey Parker. So his whole shtick is he was actually in university for, what are you doing up there? For music. He was actually in there for like music composition. And then he switched his major to film. So it's funny because like when you watch South Park, it's always loaded with songs.
Yeah,
those are all his. Trey writes all of those. Like he's still a very accomplished musician. So when he was in film, like one of their projects they had to do was make a feature film. So he's like, so he released Cannibal the Musical, which is a musical based on it's not Alfred, I think it's Alfred Packer, which is like the first in U.S. history is the first convicted cannibal in like American history. Okay. He was never fully convicted though because of the way state laws worked at the time. So he was actually found innocent because when he supposedly convicted, like murdered and ate the people, it was before Colorado was a state, so he cannot be legally tried under state law.
Oh well, what a technicality!
Yeah. But so he made a musical out of it and like released the film, but nobody bought it. Like, so eventually Troma was like, yeah, we'll market it. So I found a copy of it, watched and fell in love with it, like, because it is stupid. Like, it is dumb. Like, it is, but I was just like, this is freaking brilliant. I want to do this as a stage play. How can I do this? So I researched it and then found out that Jason McHugh, who plays one of the characters in the movie, he owns the legal rights to it because with Trey Parker doing like South Park, he obviously wouldn't have time. So he sold all the rights to Jason McHugh. He's like, yeah, you deal with this now. This is below us. Super easy to talk. Like I emailed him like, hey, I'd be really interested in doing this. I live in Winnipeg, and writes back, you live in Winnipeg? I love Winnipeg. Done. That's it. That's all it took was for me to literally say I live in Winnipeg.
Really?
And he's a fan of our city. He is a fan of our city. No Winnipeg. Idea why.
What was that movie? Tusk or Musk? Tusk was also shot. Was it shot in Winnipeg or based in Winnipeg? And that was a horror film.
Tusk is based. It's not Winnipeg. It's northern Manitoba.
Okay,
but it's that Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah,
with like Jason Long and it's so weird.
It's bizarre how Winnipeg pops up. It's one of those cities that gets love and hate. I no longer live there. I've had issues with the city before, and not major cities. It's mostly because of the opportunities that I sort of saw for myself there. But
yeah, I'll be the first to say that if I did not get married and tied down, I would not be. I'm sorry. Like, and I would still like, I love my wife. I love her to pieces. I love my kid. But that's the thing is I wouldn't be here and I would probably still be doing theater, film, acting, all that stuff. I'd probably be living in a box eating my own feces, but I'd be doing
teaching English in Thailand or somewhere where you could make decent coin and still do theater if you wanted.
I appreciate what you I love a lot of my friends actually teach one of my elementary school friends. Yeah, she teaches English in China and like I think it's just phenomenal that there's a market for that. Like, I think that's just so huge.
It used to be a lot better before. Now it's not so much. 10 years ago, it was phenomenal. Now it's sort of
the world kind of
moved on.
But then so he like wrote back, hey, like, what are some of your plans with the show? Because he kind of does have a rule. He's like, you can change certain things because they're very hard to. But like the rules were very simple. You have to put on the poster from the creator, created by Trey Parker. Matt Stone did not create it. He said, so you do not say from the creators of South Park. You do not. He says it's Trey Parker. This is his show. Yep, 100%. No problem. We can do that. We have to sell a little bit of merchandise that he provided. And then we have to, because then the profit we get from the merchandise goes back. Okay, fair. And then there's a set thing. If you don't make this amount of money, like, he had a flat rate. If you don't make it, then it's a percentage of your ticket sales. But if you do, it's this rate. We easily made that rate. And that was it. That was, and he wanted a copy of, if we film it, he wanted a copy of a DVD and a signed, like an autographed poster and an autographed program.
Of course. Yeah. And so you got all that done.
Yeah. And we got all that. I'm still friends with him on Facebook. Like it's awesome. Oh, and he's super easy to deal with. Like said, like he hasn't really done a lot. Like he does mostly music stuff nowadays. But like anytime Trey Parker has done a movie, so like Orgasmo, Cannibal the Musical, South Park, Jason appears on it. Like he'll be in it, or he'll be very subtle. He says like, "Hey, I'm friends with a legit movie star." So, and then he actually released an autobiography on the making of Cannibal a couple years later, and he actually gave me an autographed copy, and I mentioned it. And yeah, and flat out says, yeah, we were one of the most successful productions ever of Cannibal the Musical, like with minimal, because like I've seen other versions of it, and yeah, they put like it's like professional theater companies with like real like props and like Broadway sets, and then there's us. I literally had like 5 fucking wooden trees and like a horse that was made out of a sawhorse. I will admit that we did spend quite a bit, but the thing that I was really proud of that show was after we were done presenting the cast with their checks. And like them opening it, they were just like, "Wait, what?" Like one of the guys, one of the guys, Murray Farnell, very well known Canadian voice actor. He's done tons. If you go on IMDb and just look up Murray Farnell, phenomenal. Like this was back when he was still living in Winnipeg. Such a pleasure to work with. Like absolutely phenomenal. Like he's been on like Winona Earp. But he does a lot of voice work, like voice acting is his thing. But he even flat out said, like, this is the most I've ever been paid for a fringe show. Like, pleasure to work. Like, the thing I loved about that cast is just all of them, like David Fox, Dan DeYeager, Kenneth Jackson, Katie German, like, just all of them have gone on to do big things. And then there's me. No, but I'm very
playing
proud.
Games in your basement, streaming on Twitch.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, like Dan's done a lot of films. Murray said, well-known actor. Katie, she teaches theater now, and she's done a lot of stuff. David Fox lives in Toronto now. He does like touring Broadway shows. Like just absolutely, I'm so proud of that cast, of what they've been able. I'm not saying that I'm the guy that launched their careers, like far from it. They were all well established before I even met them, but like just how far a lot of them have come.
But you've cast them in your production. Murray Farnell says actor stunts on IMDb. Is that true? Billy the Kid, Cardfight Vanguard, Tobot, Winona Earp.
Yep, yeah, that is. Yeah, as soon as you said Winona Earp, I was like, yeah, that's Murray. That's Murrball.
Yeah. Okay. Neat. Yeah. So you were able to cast them in your production. That's proper.
He's such a great guy to work with. Like super, because he was like S tier compared to us, but he didn't treat us like we were lower than him, because he was like one with like the most training. Like he treated everyone as if they were just part of the cast, and always giving advice and like, hey, hey, how about we try this? But he would also listen to your ideas. Oh yeah, like that's really good. Let's give that a whirl. Just like even before the show, he'd be like the guy backstage getting everybody going before each production. Yeah, if I could work with him in 100%, I love that man. So much fun to work with. All of them.
Did they make the jump to other acting careers after your production? Not necessarily because of, but it was along their production, their acting careers that they stopped off in Winnipeg, did your sort of thing, and then
they were all local prior. Like they all lived in Winnipeg already, except for Ken. Kenneth lives in Brandon, so he drove in every day for rehearsal. He drove in for the Fringe. So bless that man. Bless Kenneth Jackson. And he does a lot of Winnipeg shows, but now he flat out said, he's like, it's no big expense to him. He says he says, I come into the city every week anyway. So like, why not? He's a pleasure to work with. He was the oldest out of the group, so he was like, I think he's early 50s now, but yeah, he was like mid 40s at the time. So he was like the old guy that we were like, give us your wisdom, Kenneth Jackson. Brilliant, man.
So you don't do any producing anymore. Like you're sort of on the sidelines right now.
Yeah, on the sidelines for right now, waiting to get back in. But I said, like, once I'm confident that my kid can handle things on his own, give me the ball, coach. I will go in. Go in.
Is there a timeline on that? Like, do you, because you mentioned that your child's on the spectrum. Do you roughly know like when you could expect it to happen, or this is something that you just don't know?
Unknown. Like I said, you know, maybe it could never happen. Maybe he will never be self-sufficient by himself. So that's just the cards you get that you're dealt with. So, but it is what it is. I have
nothing but full respect and admiration for people with children. It's because I know there is at least one single mother here whose husband or ex-husband left her after she found out she was pregnant, basically. And she was an expat here in China. But there's a few, like, I look at I want to see the silly things that I do after work. And I'm the guy at work. I'm like, you got to do it. The only reason why you're not doing a pull-up is because you're not doing a pull-up. You got to run your miles. You got to eat your broccoli. You got to do all your creative projects. You got to live your life, man. And I'm just thinking, this is such a luxury of the guy who lives on his own, who works from home, and who, though he has an issue with his company not paying his rent or even a part of it, is kind of like making it work. Because I'm like, I can do a whole lot more without, like, I don't have a manager to talk to on a daily basis. I don't have a commute. I don't have a wife, asking me 1,000 questions. I don't have a kid or dog or cat, nothing. So I'm living a charmed life. I know this. So full on respect and admiration to the parents, the mothers and the fathers out there who are raising children, working full time. Like the idea of working a full-time job and then somehow doing something extra and having a child as well.
Oh yeah. Woo!
Bravo.
I'm loved. But so I'm not going to say his name, for confidential reasons, but another good friend of mine is a single father. Like he lost his significant other shortly after the birth of their second child. Like she passed away, and like works full time, looks after 2 amazing kids, and still finds time to do like fun stuff for himself as well too. So love you to pieces, brother. If you're listening to this, you know who you are. So. He's the only one in our group. So,
would you have ever moved, or would you ever think of moving your family to Toronto, Vancouver, London, New York, Montreal?
100%. No.
What's it about Winnipeg?
The housing's cheap. We are a cheap city, and to be honest, there's a lot here. Like we don't get the credit that we deserve, but for the lifestyle that we have right now, it works fine.
Sell us Winnipeg.
Yeah, there was a period where we might have moved to the East Coast for a work opportunity, but that kind of fell through. I'm kind of glad because her family's actually from the East Coast originally. So but I was like, I really want to just but other than that, no. But everything's good. Like I like what I do now. I like the fact that I'm able to stream and still stay creative. I like the fact that I have a podcast coming out very soon. We don't have a title yet. We have 3 working titles. We just have to and they're all not taken. So we're like, okay, all right. Like we had a really awesome one, but it was like already out there. It's like,
that's why it's taken. It's such an awesome title.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to say the name of it to prevent people from taking it. But as soon as we get it all edited, produced, ready to go, it should be within the next month. Actually, should be within the next couple of weeks because we have enough data to actually edit it into episodes. Like we have probably about 6 hours worth of us just talking about rant. So all of it, the whole premise is just 2 middle-aged guys. So I'm going to be 40 this year. Sheldon's already he's 43. And we just talk about just crap we liked as kids. And does it still hold up today? Is kind of the whole premise. So we rewatch old cartoons. Are they still good? We rewatch old movies. Are they still good?
Which ones?
A lot of the answer is no. A lot of them are not. Like Masters Universe, loved He-Man in the Masters Universe. Amazing show. Best cartoon ever.
Watching it now? No.
Pen in the eye. Like the wife, bless her, she bought me every season on DVD. She bought me like the box. And she's like, I know you really like this cartoon. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Put in the first disc. I'm just like,
this is
like I haven't even finished disc 1 yet. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't. But then there's other like Disney cartoons like Gummy Bears, Gargoyles, Darkwing Duck, Chippendales. Hell yeah.
Gargoyles was very good.
Oh, I remember that one. Keith David, man. Keith David's a god. Keith David, you can read me a bedtime story. Keith David can like read the ingredients of soup and I'll be like, ooh, tell me more, Keith David. I'll listen to you all night. Keith David, if you're listening, it's not creepy. I really like what you bring to the table.
Well, I remember Gargoyles because that was I remember my sister watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, and basically the whole cast moved over to
98% of them, yeah. Right. So Jonathan Frakes plays the villain.
Can't remember.
It starts with a Z. Zapporo. I don't know, but yeah. So Riker is the villain, and that just I love Riker.
Yeah, it's Riker. It's not the Jonathan Frakes. It's Riker, and then the Commander Troy as well. She was on there.
Deanna Troy. She's in it. Yeah. The thing I love is that like in the interview, like because someone made that super cut of Rikering the chair, because he's tall. Like he's a tall guy. I think he's like 6'7". Like he's a tall. So whenever he goes, you've probably seen the video where he'll put his leg over the chair to sit onto it. Like he'll approach it from the back and and then when he gets up, but he said he never realized that he did that. That's just something he's always done because he's so tall. But then someone made a super cut of that and he watched, he's like, well, shit. and same with like, same with like Jean-Luc Picard always grabs his shirt when he sits down. Before he sits down, he takes the bottom and he fans it out and he sits down. And like I said, Patrick Stewart never realized that he did that. He said it was just a little trope that he just naturally does. But now everyone associates Jean-Luc Picard with poofing out his shirt before he sits down. And I'm like, Next Generation was great. Like the OG show's good, but for me, Next Generation will always be my personal favorite.
Yeah, I think I stopped watching after that one. I tried to get into Voyager, but Voyager I liked Voyager because it was so far away, and I think that was sort of the attraction of it.
The wife loves Voyager, like that's her favorite. Well, Voyager also had a purpose. Like the actual series was they're trying to get back home. Next Generation was just like, all right, wacky shit every episode. Like there was no actual arcing storyline. Like so, but before we part ways, like how I was taught to write was in arcs. So you have one. So this will actually echo onto that project that we did together, and I think that's a great place to end because people need to see this. Echoing.
Well, do they?
Oh, yes, they do. So the way you write it is your season will have one giant arc. You have to, the whole point of the season is to finish that arc. Each half season will have a half arc. Then you have quarter arcs. Then you have each individual episode has its own individual arc. But the way it all works is that so you have your one little storyline, but that one episode still has a part of a slightly larger storyline and a slightly larger storyline and a slightly larger storyline. So when we did the no budget show, there you go. You know what I'm talking about.
I do. I remember that one. It was definitely no budget.
Zero budget. So the way we wrote it was we had that giant story arc plus the two half arcs. But the thing I loved about that show is that the one premise we had was that every episode had its own individual arc, but its own genre. Yes, so we had a Western episode. We had the undead zombie apocalypse episode. You guys came
Super
on the
Mario's.
You guys were on the foreign episode where because you were in you guys were in that Ukrainian band at the time, which is awesome.
They're still going.
The thing I don't understand in that episode, there's like a scene where it cuts to like John Marquez wearing that goat head running around the room with like two spears. And we're just like, okay, whatever, keep it in there. Because you guys brought this goat head or a sheep head or whatever it was.
I can't remember why we did that either. It's just because we had a prop and we're like, well, let's bring it anyway, just in case.
Yeah. We had a puppet episode, a fantasy episode, like I said, a Western episode, a medical drama episode. But the other thing I liked is that all the dialogue was improvised, 100% improvised. So all we ever had was, here's what needs to happen in the show. That's it. Like, so we had the beginning of the episode and we had the ending of the episode, and we had like little key plot points that we had to hit, which were part of those story arcs. So here's important story arcs that need to happen in this episode. You guys just make it up and hopefully it all works out. So it did help that a lot of us had a theater background, but editing it, we're just like, what the fuck is this? It was so difficult to edit.
Did it work? Did the idea work though?
It did work. And but the thing is, the last episode, it's a two-parter. It's the fantasy episode, was never released because we never finished editing it.
Oh no. And now Final Cut has upgraded. Good luck getting that project open again.
We have the footage though.
On mini DV. Good luck transferring it.
Yeah. Oh well, Firewire still exists. Firewire still exists.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. You can get a PCI Firewire card, which is what will work in most PCs. The problem is it's digitizing the footage, because that's like 16 hours worth of footage.
Oh yeah. It's got to be done real time.
Yeah, and it's a lot of footage. So Dave Zellis has the footage.
Has he digitized it yet?
He'll get to it eventually, but he has a lot of shit that he's working
on. How long does it take him to digitize 16 hours of footage? I'm joking, David. I know, because I'm in the same boat.
I've done it. I love you, Dave. I'm glad your production company is doing very well. I'm glad he's doing very well right now.
I think one of the last times I was in Canada, I made a point of digitizing, if not all, at least the vast majority of my mini DV collection. Not collection, my tapes, because I was like, these tapes are getting old. I have to do it. And I had to rent a deck from Advanced Digital, Advanced whatever it is, Advanced Pro, and they're like, they give me this huge deck to plug into the PCI Firewire card that I had Jimmy rigged into my dad's computer at the time, because I couldn't actually get it into the actual tower itself. Yeah,
because I cleaned up my office and I found probably about like 400 mini DV tapes. My mini DV camera does not work though.
No, they never do.
It has no power. I can't get it to work, so I have to find a deck, because I have a current Firewire card in my PC, so I just need a deck. So I will find it eventually.
Or an old video camera. And it's tough, because you never know if those cameras are going to chew anything. Camera. Yeah.
And that's just breaks my heart.
Yeah. I know that Advanced used to have a mini DV deck, and there was another one. It was Advanced, but it was or Midcan. Midcan also had a deck back in the day. That was cute.
But I think like mini DV was good technology. Like it was good. It was like the OG digital, but it wasn't digital. Like it was the streamline between VHS and digital. It was like the thing that was like, and then they had like those recordable DVDs for a little while. They were just utter garbage, horrible to work with.
Yeah. Then they realized, why don't we just get rid of the tape and keep it all digital, like the name says, and it would be so much easier on everybody.
Well, it's funny because like when I was in like film and broadcasting, we were the tail end. So we were at the period where we were still using tapes, and digital was just coming in.
Yes.
So our teacher kind of said, like, you guys are essentially the screwed class, because you're going to learn, because you're learning a technology which is going to be gone in 2 years, but the technology that's taking over doesn't exist yet. So we got fucked. But I do love digital editing because it's non-linear.
Oh, it's so much
linear editing. Linear is great. Don't get me wrong, great. But you have to start at point A and finish at the end. Where non-linear is like, I feel like working on the ending today. You can just go back and you can cut by the millisecond, where linear, you're sitting there like hoping you get that exact moment, and then, oh crap, I botched the control track, and now there's like a millisecond of black, so I got to go back and redo everything. It's just like,
Control Z also made it a lot easier too, didn't it?
Yeah, just beautiful. So all you kids with your Final Cut Pro and bullshit, I used tape and scissors.
Yeah, back in the day for sure. I remember actually when I got back into Final Cut, I didn't realize that they had background rendering. That changed my life. I was like, excuse me, I don't have to wait 16 hours for this thing to render out. It does it as I go
and still work. What is
this magic?
All right. It has been a pleasure, dude. It has been awesome.
All right. So Joel, where can people find you? Because you got to get going here.
Yeah.
Where can people find you and troll you some more?
Okay. Well, if you want to watch my YouTube, I don't post new videos, but you can watch my old stuff. It's Kayfabe Chronicles. So Kayfabe, of course, the magical art of maintaining the illusion in wrestling. So Kayfabe Chronicles on YouTube. And if you want to follow me on Twitch, it is Rats House of Retro, all one word. Rats is just a nickname that I got from gaming, and I just kind of kept it. We didn't really get in. It's a boring story. It doesn't matter. But yeah, on Twitch, you'll find the logo of me wearing a lucha mask, drinking a cup of coffee, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we stream mostly retro games. We play a little bit of World of Warcraft, some Overwatch. I try to keep it fun. But yeah, our next stream will be. Well, I don't know when this comes out, so yeah, eventually.
But you stream every night, though, don't you? Or Monday, Tuesday, most nights.
Yeah. Monday, Tuesday. No, not Tuesdays. So Sunday, Monday, Wednesdays, and then I alternate Fridays and Saturdays.
Right on.
So 1 week will be Friday, the following week will be Saturday, because I still got to do dad stuff.
For sure. Yeah. I've been enjoying your Mega Man series and watching you die repeatedly. Good thing save and continue exists.
In the middle of Mega Man 3 right now. But yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at Rats House of Ret.
You still use Twitter?
Yeah, still use Twitter. I also have an Instagram and a TikTok, Rats House of Retro. Okay. Check that all out. Just go to my Twitter, click on the link tree, it takes you all there. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. You are the man. And hopefully once we get our podcast going, we'll have you as a guest, because we'd love to have you on board. So once we get that released, I'll let everybody know, and we'll release some names and stuff. So
cheers. All right, Joel. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are the man.
Have a good day and all the best. And I hope good luck with the podcasting. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I think it is worth it, especially if you look back on all the stuff that you've done. I mean,
yeah, I think I've done enough where I think I can make this work. And it's not about making money; it's about being entertaining. It's like I said, I've been very blessed to have viewers give me gifts, but like I said, it's not. I'm not the guy like click the donation button. Like I'm not. No. If you guys want to give me stuff, great. If not, that's cool. I just hope you enjoy it and you laugh your ass off, because that's number one priority is comedy. Right. So,
Rats House of Retro on Twitch. Definitely go watch his video games. Joe Passante, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll talk again.
I love you, brother. Take care. Good to see you. We need to touch base again. All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care.
And there you have it. That's episode 39 of the Steven Sersky podcast. And that was Joel Passante, my guest today. Show notes and tracks are available on my website, stevensersky.com. Sorry, not tracks. Show notes and MP3 are available on my website, stevensersky.com. Thank you very much for listening today. I appreciate it. And of course, you can also stream this on all the major platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, and others. Again, show notes and track available up on my website, stevensersky.com. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it. We will talk again. Have a good one. Bye-bye.